Well, hello, everybody. So, we are here for another amazing Go Figure podcast, and we have today the amazing Natalia Coelho. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. We did
Coelho.
practice it.
Coelho.
Coelho. Coelho.
Coelho.
We did practice it a little bit. You know, I'm a typical Australian with a very broad accent. But Natalia, we are so honored to have you on today. We could not believe it when you accepted, and it was within, you know, we've sort of been trying to organize this with you since about December of last year, and you've been absolutely flat out. You've just come off the back of your win at the Pittsburgh Pro. Congratulations. But not only that, Natalia, she also won the Miss O last year in the physique division. You've just got to look at this woman. She is absolutely incredible. Your proportions are out of this world. So thank you so much, Natalia. We have been fangirling ever since you accepted, and we have just been beyond excited. So thank you so much for coming on today.
No, honestly, just like I was telling girls, it is a pleasure, an honor to be here with you today, especially because I know how much you guys are passionate about the sports, doing this podcast for the girls, for the sports. So I'm all about that. I know we've been trying to get together since December, but I've been traveling, doing all these workshops, seminars, and trying to give back as much as I can. But I told you I will be there, and here I am.
Here we are. Here we are.
You do. You actually give back a lot to the sport. And we'd love to hear about all of the things that you do outside of just actually being a competitor and an athlete. Because you see your face everywhere. You go to shows, you guest pose, you promote shows.
Sponsoring shows, the up-and-coming Triple O Dynasty, which we'll get into shortly, which has just had the date released on the 6th of April, which is also incredible. But you know what, Natalia, we see you on stage, we see you doing interviews, we even saw you on American mainstream TV, and I was like, oh, who's that girl?
That was so good.
Like, what the? Okay, it's in mainstream now. But there's a story behind every successful person, and there's a story behind the successful people of the successful people. And, yes, there's a team that it takes a team and an army of people to make one person successful, but ultimately it comes down to that individual and their roots and where they grew up and how they started and what challenges they had to overcome. And I know you have a story. And for those that don't or haven't actually seen or heard this part, we would love to dive into where it all began for Natalia.
Sure. So I was born in New York, originally from New York, but I was raised in Brazil. So when I was less than 1 year old, I moved to Brazil, and I was living there until 15 years old. So I'm pretty much Brazilian. My parents are Brazilian, so I have both citizenships, I'm American and Brazilian. So I speak both languages. Yes. So when I was 15 years old, my mom decided to come back to the US. And then my father stayed in Brazil. They are divorced, they're no longer together. So I had the option to either move back with my mom and my brother or stay with my father. And honestly, the bond that I have with my mom is like, I love my father, of course, like we're very close as well. But my mom has been through a lot. She's a warrior, and that was the moment of her life that she really needed me to be with her. She's like, I will have to move to US. I got a job there. I have opportunities there, and I'll have to go. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm 15 years old. I'm in the middle of high school. All my friends, my family. It's my country. How can I move? Like, she gave me 2 weeks to decide. And I'm like, 2 weeks is so short. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And at the time, I didn't speak English at all. It was a completely new language to me. And I'm like, how am I going to communicate? How am I going to graduate? How am I going to go to school? How am I going to make friends? Like, how is life going to be there? It was all like a mysterious way. I had no clue. But one thing I knew that God doesn't let us down. If God is giving us an opening, like showing us a door, we got to go through it. And together, we are going to find a way. So I told her, like, Mom, I don't want to go. I'll be honest with you. I really don't want to go. My friends are here. My family's here. My school, everything's here. but I would never let you go by yourself, like throughout my whole life, she's always been by my side, supporting me, doing everything that I needed. And now that she needs me, even though I'm just a teenager, I'm not gonna go with her. There was no way I would do that. So I told her, okay, mom, let's go. We're together forever. That's our mantra. We always say to each other, together forever. And
Oh,
then we moved here. It was crazy. I was like, every single day, I didn't want to show her because, I think when one person is not feeling well and she shows that, it just brings the other one down. So I was trying to support her and to just be there, be happy. But it was very hard because I didn't know anybody. And the most challenging thing was to speak English. I'm like, I would go to the supermarket. I couldn't say anything like, I'm looking for a product or for food or whatever. I couldn't ask. And by the time we didn't have like Google Translate or whatever, we didn't even use cell phones for that. So I study a lot. I bought this dictionary, English and Portuguese. I would go out and keep like reading and trying to communicate and put things together. And of course, my mom put me in high school. So not only I had to learn English, but I was just like the whole day listening to people speaking foreign language, something that I had no clue what they're talking about. Can you imagine like learning chemistry, learning history, math, all this stuff in another language?
oh,
I'm like, oh my God.
Natalia, I can relate to that. I couldn't speak English until I was 6 years old. My nonna, I'm Italian background. And
Okay.
so my nonna and Portuguese and Italian are very similar in dialect. She raised me while my mum went out and worked, which is what the Europeans do. And
Um,
I get to school and I had no idea what was going on. And in 1985, there was no internet and there was no Google and there was no phones, and you'd have to go to a library to learn, or you'd go to a class to learn, right? So I understand, like I can relate to it. Like, yeah.
you know how that feels, but most people don't. However, in Brazil, I was like the straight A student. I was always sitting the first seat, always like the best grades, the best, like the example of the students. And even like my graduation there, they call oradora in Portuguese, is the one who represents the whole class and speaks in front of everybody. So I was the person like very, very nerd, like studying a lot, getting the
Oh,
best
yep.
grades.
Yeah.
And then I moved to US and I'm like, how am I going to keep it up with them and be the best students here if I cannot even speak English? Like I had a lot of professors that they didn't have patience because I have a very strong accent, as you can tell.
Love
And
it.
some of them don't like I would say something and they understood what I said, but they would be like, excuse me, can you speak English? I'm like, I am speaking English. They're like, sorry, I don't understand you. Like they would do some things just to provoke me. I'm
Yeah,
like,
a little bit
okay,
like bullying. Yeah.
yeah. But to be honest, I think all of that is good for us, to everybody, honestly, because it makes us stronger. So I try to get everything in life and turn into the positive. It doesn't matter what it is. We can always find a good in a bad situation or whatever. So it ended up that I became the best student of my class. I got straight A's. I graduated my university, my college, my everything with GPA 4.0. I was an honor
Wow.
society class. So it's like I was able to get to the point where most Americans couldn't go. And I did pre-med in school. I graduated in sports and exercise science, kinesiology, sports nutrition. I have 3 degrees in gut health. So it's like when you really want to do something, it's
Wow.
going to take time, but you can do it. And that's
So
it. The
you were
true benefit.
destined for this, Natalia. That's incredible. I absolutely
Amazing.
love that. And 3 degrees. Like I've got my sports science and you've got your psych, and then I've got nutrition as well. And it's even full speaking English, that is hard to translate with what you have to do. So there is obviously something inside of you, like a never giving up kind of attitude, like a trigger that goes, my stubbornness is persistent, that gets you to that. So it was setting the foundations for what was yet to come.
Yes, and that's the thing. What you do on a daily basis is gonna show how successful you're gonna be. It's easy for somebody to diet for a week, maybe for a day. A week is too much, but you can diet for a day. It's easy. Everybody can do it. But now the next day you got to do the same thing again, and then 1 week later you got to do the same thing. So it's just like you got to have the mindset and the mentality of knowing where you're going and why you're going there. What is your reason? What's your why? You know,
Right.
and a lot of
Oh,
people have that.
so what was your why, Natalia? What was your why?
When I was in school, when I was competing, or in terms of what?
I think it evolves, but let's start at the start, right? Let's start at your why at school and that part of your life first.
My mom. I just want to give her the life that she always gave me. And I promised myself that one day I would be able to give everything to her in double. So whatever she gave me when I was low, whatever she did for me, like raising me, I want to be able to give back. And I knew that in order to do that, I need to be successful. I need to have, my degree or whatever I had to do to be successful in a job or whatever, to feel like financially stable, to be able to give back to her. So every single day I would get to school and I would think about her, and I'm like, my mom went through so much. I'm here because of her, so I gotta learn English. I gotta do that. And at the end of the day, like it's just like you really have to have something inside your heart, because if you're doing something without passion, without having a why, you're not gonna go far because obstacles are gonna come, challenges are gonna come. And I tell everybody this, but it's so true. When you are like in an airplane and you're going through turbulence, do you think the pilot is going to keep going through the turbulence? No, he goes up and then everything is smooth again. So you're not going to stop when the obstacle comes. You're facing something. You got to go through it. It's part of the game. Before you see the sun, there's rain, so it's just a process. And we got to keep eyes on that. Like nothing is forever. Everything is temporary, right? So if I'm going through these challenges now, I know they're not going to be here within like maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months. Next year, someday I'm going to learn English. It's just a matter of consistently, applying myself and doing what I can to learn, because it's not something that I'm going to wake up and I speak English. It's a process, just like everything in life.
Wow.
And so, you got your honors, you got your degree, you've into adulthood now. And so what was the link between all of that and then starting in the bodybuilding world? Like, how did that evolve? How did that get started for you?
It was funny because it was pretty much like at the same time. I was going to the gym every single day. I would get my bicycle, I would ride to the gym after high school, and then I was very disciplined. I have exactly time to eat, exactly time to train, exactly time to do everything. And I think that comes from my grandfather. He's an admiral of the Navy, so he's very strict. He has a lot of like drive, discipline, like I admire him so much. And I see how much like he was able to achieve by being consistent, by being disciplined, by having a goal. So anyhow, I was going to the gym every day at the same time. And there was a bodybuilder in my gym. He was older, much older, but he would always like be watching me. And then one day he came talk to me. At the time, I didn't speak English, so I had no idea what he was talking about. But I would say, okay, that's all I said. Okay. Sometimes I would say, yes, okay,
Oh,
yes.
yes. Oh my God.
And then I was at the gym, and then he came to me and he's like talking to me. And he was talking about competing. He asked me if I was a competitor, why I was training every time so consistently. He was watching me. I was always very focused. And I couldn't say anything. Sometimes I could understand a few words, but I couldn't answer. I didn't know how to put the words together. And I was like, okay. So he realized that I didn't speak English after like 30 minutes. Okay.
Oh, bless.
And then another day comes and I'm at the gym and he comes talk to me again. And I'm like, why is he still trying to talk to me if I don't speak English? He doesn't get it. But he kept talking to me. And then little by little, like I was learning, I would like reply. And then one day my mom was at the gym and my mom speaks fluently. So she started talking to him and explaining all the situation, everything that I wanted to say, she was translating for me. And we created like a very strong bond. This guy was the guy who introduced me to bodybuilding. And he has a son. And he was trying to train his son to compete. But his son was kind of lazy.
Ah,
And he didn't want to do everything that he was supposed to do. He would skip meals or he wouldn't train as hard as his father wants him to train. And then he's like, Natalia, can you train legs with us tomorrow? I'm like, if you come to the gym at 2:30, yes, because that's the time that I train. So we started training together and he was showing me some things and his son started getting motivated because I was like 16 and his son's like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it too. So we started like pushing each other and he taught me a lot. And he introduced me to my first coach. But at the time, he gave me DVDs, Jay Cutler's DVDs, a lot of stuff about the old school,
Oh,
philosophy.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And
And that,
DVDs as well. Like, what's
Yeah.
DVD?
Well, that's how I started out too.
Hello.
and he would give me like homework. You're gonna get home, you're gonna look it up for this guy, that guy, Dennis Wolf, Dennis James, Lila Brad, whoever it was. He would give me all the leads, Evan Santopani. I would know everything about all the bodybuilders. I
Of
was
course
just
you
in
would.
love with how much we have the power to change our bodies, and the mindset that you need to have in order to achieve that. I was like amazed. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to look like them because, of course, I want to stay feminine, but I want to have these, like, I don't know, I just want to put all my energy into that because I love it. When I'm training, when I'm dieting, when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I'm enjoying it. I'm not like complaining. People wake up, oh my gosh, I gotta do cardio. I'm like, no, you get to do cardio. You're healthy, you're young, you're looking good.
Get
You
to.
have
Oh
to.
my God, that's what Whitney
I
says.
love that.
Jones
Yeah.
said that. I
Yeah.
don't have
You
to, I
don't
get
have
to
to.
do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're blessed. You can do it, Like there are some people that are in the hospital beds right now that cannot walk. They
Yeah.
would be like praying, asking God to be able to wake up, to walk normally, to feel good. And you're there healthy, complaining to do cardio. Cardio is an option. You're not forced to do that. So I think it's just a matter of how you look at things, the perspective. But going back to the bodybuilding, sorry. And then he introduced me to my first coach. From there on, I started prepping. I was 16. I did my first show as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
I won my first show, and I was just like the feeling that I had when I stepped on stage. I said, I want to feel this for the rest of my life. It's the best feeling I ever felt. It's something that, God puts a seed in your heart, and you can feel when you're doing the thing that God wants you to do. And that's how I
Exactly.
felt. I'm like, this is, I don't know, my whole world came together. And everybody was like, I was backstage and people like, are you nervous? You're like 16, 17. All these girls have a lot of experience. They've been competing for years and you're going to step on stage against them. I'm like, I don't care, like it's not about them. It's my why. It's the reason why I'm here. And then when I stepped on stage and I saw my mom in the first row saying, go Natalia, I was like, I won. That's it. I don't care if I'm getting first place, last place. This is
Oh,
my
wow.
trophy.
That's so important,
So
Natalia.
beautiful.
So we always, because Rose, you have a very strong bond with your mum and she's coming over.
Oh, it's
Stay tuned.
making me emotional, to be honest, listening to you because I have a very similar relationship with my mum, and she's actually coming over in October to watch me debut. So I'm like getting all emotional listening to you because it's just my dream to look down and have my mum there in the crowd. And yeah,
Yeah.
the bond between, a mum and her daughter is just so special, and she's a lot of my why as well. So yeah, I
I love
really
that.
hear that.
And
You're gonna,
I'm probably more like your mum. I'm a single parent and,
okay.
single parent and have raised my little boy who's now 7. And, I remember I got my pro card last year and Rose, you were there, but my little boy was there. And I remember coming out on stage, I was getting emotional thinking about it and looking at him, he goes, that's my mum, and hearing him, yell and scream because for, years before that, he was in hospital and he was born with half a heart. So he doesn't have the right-hand side of the heart, only the left-hand side. And he was given a 1% chance of survival. So every day he was my why, and, working and training at the hospital bed, while he was having his treatments and his heart surgeries and everything. And then to see, like you said, when you step on stage for that first time and that it doesn't matter who's on stage, who you're up against, how prestigious the show is, you have a why, and your why was your mum, and that just fills you up. you know, as much as what, you know, God's love for you would fill you up. You know, it's something that you can't explain. It's almost euphoric, you know. So you know, to hear you say that, and anyone else that's going to be listening to this today, it's so important to have something that is deeply rooted, that is outside the accolades of ego. Don't get me wrong, it's always nice to get up there and go, I look great and I've got this trophy, but it has to go past that. You need to go deeper into that ethos. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, and one thing that I want to tell to everybody who's watching, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, but my parents don't support me, my family doesn't support me, or my son or my husband, whatever. I want to tell you this. My mom didn't support me at the beginning. When I started competing, nobody supported me, especially because all my family was in Brazil and they have no idea what bodybuilding was about. So I told them, I'm a bodybuilder. They're like, you are what? Like, what are you doing? They're trying, and then my
like,
father
what?
thought
Hey.
my father thought I was trying to become a man. He's like, you don't have muscles, like you not become a man. I'm like, no, that's not what bodybuilding is. So it was a misconception in their part. So I want to tell everybody who's watching this and has somebody who doesn't support you to just try to educate them about the sport. Bring them to the shows, show them like videos, bring them to the Olympiad, maybe, you know, because once they understand the foundation and how much this sport can change your life, I'm pretty sure they're going to start supporting you, you know, because the discipline that you learn here, you're going to apply everything in your life. Everything's going to be clear. Everything, like, it's so beautiful to see what this sport can do to us. So in the beginning, my mom was completely against it. She wouldn't be like, I was a teenager. I didn't speak English. I didn't have a car. I had my bicycle. But she was like, I'm not giving you a dime to buy chicken and rice and all that food. Why are you doing that for? I'm like, Mom, I need to grow. I need to eat. And she's like, you don't need to grow. You need to eat like a normal person. So, oh my gosh. So I started studying and I got my to get my personal training certificate. So I took like all the anatomy courses in school, I took physiology, all these classes to learn about the human body, you know, from the inside out. And that's when I got like in love with everything that I was learning. I got my diploma, my certificate actually in personal training through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I started like training people. I would wake up at 5 a.m., do my cardio, go to a gym, and I would train people from like maybe 7 to 1, go to university, go back home, like after 6, 7 hours in the university to train, to cook, to study, to do my homework, to do all the stuff, prep for the next day. And my mom was like, why are you doing that? It's too much. Like, you're going to go crazy. It's too much stress. I'm like, it is a lot of stress. I know it is, but it's temporary. You know, it's not going to last forever. One day I'm going to be holding a diploma saying I made it, you know. So I knew that day was going to come and I just had to go through it. And if it's hard now, it's going to get easier later. You know, if I can get through that, afterwards it's going to be easy. So I knew it was just like preparing me. And that's what I kept in mind. I'm like, keep going, keep going. It's not going to be forever. And it wasn't, you know. But here's the thing. I was enjoying. I was having fun. I was watching my body change. I was feeling good with myself. I knew exactly what was going on. I could see the changes in my physique. And also, not only in the outside, but the inside, I was feeling much healthier, you know, because I had all the energy that I needed. I was sleeping properly. I was recovering properly. I was giving my body everything, all the nutrients that my body needed in order to have, you know, the changes that I needed to have. So moving forwards, I was 16 to 17, my first show, Art and Pro when I was 19 at nationals in Miami.
And that was that physique? You went pro in physique straight away when you were 19?
I started in figure. I started competing in figure. And I turned pro in figure. I stayed in figure until 2017. So my first year as a pro, I qualified for the Olympia, which was crazy. I was at the Olympia at 19 years old. I was so out of my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know. I placed top last. I placed last.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I remember going out of the stage. My mom was right like backstage looking for me. I jumped on her. I was jumping up and down. I'm like, yes, yes. She's like, I don't think you understood. This means last place, like you didn't place. Why are you so happy? She thought I didn't understand the English or something, that I didn't get it, my placement. I'm like, no, mom, do you understand the history of being on this stage? Do you understand the Joe Wieder's legacy? Do you understand what this sport is about? And she's like, yeah, like you taught me a little bit about this and that. So from that day on, I put her to watch the Wieder's legacy, everything, to read about it. I would quiz her. I would ask her questions about
That's so
the
good.
video, the movies.
You've become the teacher.
And that's what became my passion. I'm like, you know what? I like to bring people to the sport. I like to educate them. I like to see how we can change someone who doesn't know anything about the sport to become a big fan. My mom today is the biggest fan. She knows all the names, all the bodybuilders. She
I
goes to all
love
the
that. I love that.
That is so
and
good.
I
That
feel
is so good.
accomplished it because
So
I was able to. Yeah.
your why, Natalia, in this sport is, yes, you're very passionate about it and you want to promote the sport and bring so much to the sport as well. But what does bodybuilding represent to you?
Honestly, bodybuilding is my life.
Yeah.
Everything that I do 24/7, every single day, it's how can I make the sport better? How can I make myself as an athlete, as an ambassador, as a representative of the women's physique category better? Because we had a lot of, like very good influencers in this industry, but I think it's time for us to step up the game. It's time for us to come together. Not only like think about Natalia as an athlete, Natalia as a winner, Natalia as a Miss Olympia, but Natalia as a representative of what we love, about the passion that we all have here. And sometimes we just need that one person to kind of like bring people together and say, listen, let's do this way, let's do that. Open like ideas, bring everything to the table and see
Love
how
that.
we can work together to grow.
Yeah.
So I
So
started like trying to see what I could do because of course one person cannot do a lot, but look at what Arnold Schwarzenegger did. He was one person. He came from another country here and he changed the history. He changed everything about bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And that's my ultimate goal. I want to be the female version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to create a legacy. I want to change the world. I don't want the sport to just be here in US. I want the world to know about the sport. I want to bring the sport to Australia, like we're talking,
Yes.
Brazil, everywhere. Because
that's so
this
amazing.
is
And you've taken it mainstream too. Like, I mean, the fact that you've been interviewed, I mean, I've got goosebumps just thinking about that because I saw your interview and I was like, oh my God, she's taking it mainstream. And that's where it needs to be. I think there's kind of been this almost unspoken kind of like culture that's like, oh, we're not mainstream, we're kind of to the side, but we can be. And I'm with you when people understand what this sport can do for you physically, emotionally,
Mentally. Yeah.
spiritually,
Spiritually.
you know.
And you're so right, true. Good point you made as well, is that, bringing it mainstream and the education part of it is that bodybuilding is something that you can do forever.
Yes.
Bodybuilding can be and is like I'm 42, you're 42 in a couple of months. Like we've been doing this since we're in our early 20s and it keeps you young, it keeps you healthy. And there is a misconception that, we're freak shows. Well, it's not that we're freaks or anything like that. We just, as the population evolves, the population is getting unhealthier, right? But, bodybuilding, the ones that do it right, the ones that look after their health and are very, sensible with it as well, has become a very healthy sport as well. And it's, if you look at the benefits of exercising and building your body on your mental health and what it does, it is the best antidepressant you will ever have. It is the best way to build your confidence and belief in yourself. And it's something that you have for you.
And to prevent so many diseases, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people, especially nowadays, they only go to the doctor when something is wrong. They only take care of their health when something goes wrong. I'm like, why? Why don't you like try to prevent things from happening? Because you have the power. It's in your hands. You know, if you eat healthier, I'm not saying you have to diet. I'm not saying that you have to be hungry all the time or that you have to kill yourself training or whatever. I'm saying that there's healthier ways to just like prevent so many things, and all the disease starts with your habits. You know, pretty much all of them. You know, there are of course some chronic and
Yeah.
genetical stuff going on, but most of them can be prevented or at least reduced. You can mitigate a lot of the side effects of a lot of things that you do if you're aware about your health, about what you can do in order to, you know, keep your health on point or check. You can always be doing your blood work. You can do so many things that a lot of people are like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't have time. I'm like, no, you know, you have to prioritize yourself. It's your health, it's your life.
Yeah. And if you're on a blood pressure medication for the rest of your life, that's going to be a hell of a lot more expensive than, you know, making sure that you're eating and buying healthy foods that, you know, where you won't even end up developing that issue. So I always find it quite sort of frustrating when I hear that from people, like when they say, oh, but it's too expensive, you know, to eat healthily. And I'm like, the tablets that you're going to need to be taking in the future, because you haven't looked after yourself, are going to be way more expensive, and you're not going to be able to stop them.
Right?
That's
Yes,
it.
that is true.
And so Miss Arnold Schwarzenegger of the modern world, you know, when you've got a vision, you're a real visionary. That I love that.
I love it.
You now it's 2017, you're starting to transition into physique. Okay. And you know, so between 2017 and 2023, there were a lot of changes in your sporting career. Share with us, because there was a few times that you kind of just missed out on that first place, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here she is, she's number one. That vision that she had is there, and you're continuing.
Yes, so I made the change after I did the Olympic 2 times as a figure, and the 2 times that I competed, I placed last. But so did Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. They placed last. They became 4 times and 8 times Miss Olympia. So that didn't stop me. I just wanted to understand why I was not placing higher, because I was doing a lot of other shows throughout the year, and I was placing first, getting like top first, top one, top two.
Mm.
So I talked to the judges, and they told me, listen, as far as the criteria for figure goes, we cannot see striations on your glutes. We cannot see feathers on your quads. There are a few things that you have to either bring your body fat higher so we don't see that, or try another division that might fit you better. And I had the same misconception that a lot of people has, that I need to get big. I need to look like a man. I need to get, you know, like I was just like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. And they're like, Natalia, listen, we want someone looking feminine, someone with this. We want someone to represent what we are looking for in this division. It doesn't matter what image you have in your head, but that doesn't mean that this is the image that we want for the women's physique representative to be. So if I was you, I would just give it a try, see how it goes. So after the Olympia, a few weeks, I think a week or two later, I step in a women's physique show. I'm like, I'm gonna bring the same exact package. I'm not going to get any bigger because I don't want to. I want to be like I am and see how that goes. So I talked to Tarek and Tamer. They were the ones doing the show. They were judging me there. And I was super like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Should I go? Should I not? I talked to Bob Chick. And
Oh
he's
yeah,
like,
Bob
go,
Chira,
girl, you
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And he was the one telling me for a long time, you gotta go, you gotta try, you gotta try. And I actually got in a call with Sandy Williamson after the Olympia, and she explained everything. She's very good with feedback. She tells you exactly how it is. And she's like, Natalia, here's the thing. I have your pictures pull up here. I'm looking at them, and she told me exactly what I had to do if I want to stay in figure. And then I told her, I'm like, what if I go to women's physique? She's like, good move. I would give it a try. I'm like, okay, if the head judge is telling me that, maybe I should actually try. Anyhow, I try. I won my first women's physique show.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Girls, you have no idea. I was like, wait, 2 weeks later, I placed last and now I'm first.
Wow.
And you did nothing
I like
different.
nothing different.
You
The
just bought
same as
the
like
same package, but learn how to do the muscularity posing.
kind of because
Wow.
my posing was totally off, but I tried. I was like practicing every day, however I could. And then I'm like, you know what? We have 2 months for the Arnold. Let me try to step in a big stage like the Arnold as a woman's physique and see how that's gonna go. So a few months later, I go on stage and I placed top two at the Arnold. I'm like, okay, so top two is like the runner up for the Olympia, pretty much. So Shanique Grant won, I got second. And the next year, I won the Arnold, and then I won again the Arnold. So I won twice in a row the Arnold Classic. I did a lot of like shows, girl shows, and I was doing super well. But as you said, when the Olympia time comes, I was placing second, all the
I
time
know, we're
second.
just missing
Oh
out.
no, I was watching you two, like, because we've both been massive fans of you for a long time, and we were like, oh my God, it's so close. Like, why? She's just, the bridesmaid every time, but
And I was like, every time I would step on stage, and it was like between me and Shanique or me and whoever it was, Sarah, anyhow.
Yeah.
And then I was like waiting for my name, and then they wouldn't call. I'm like, almost. But I was happy, I'm like, I
Yeah.
will get it. It doesn't matter how long it's gonna take, I will get this.
What was the feedback that you got from like your Weinbergers and Sandys and Becky's and from who was judging you on the day at the Olympias, that the difference between the first and the second?
So the first time that I got second, they told me it could go either way. It's just a difference of the structure of my physique and Shanique's physique. She has a very beautiful flow, very special, super small waist. I had a different physique, but they didn't say exactly like you need to get that bigger here or there or whatever. They didn't really tell me what I had to do. They just said, you're in the right track. Keep going. You're going to get there, and I kept going. So the following year was between me and her again, and the same thing happens. But in the last show, before I get my Olympia title, they told me they want to see more sweep on my quads that could be a little bit bigger. So my outer sweeps, and that I work like that, like crazily heavy on that. I was like all year round, not all year round, but like throughout the whole prep, thinking about it, like totally putting all my energy and saying, I need to bring them what they want to see. I need to bring them what they want to see. And that's what I worked a lot on. And when I got to the Olympia, I felt I had the strongest quads ever. I was very confident. And I just stepped on the stage saying, I'm going to fight for this title with all my heart. Like I've been here many times in second place, but I'm not going to let this happen again. It's my time. I can feel that God's saying like, go Natalia, like, I don't know. I just had this special feeling that I got all the improvements that they want to see. I did 6 shows in that year. That was like crazy. And I won the 6 shows that I did. So I'm like, I think it's my time, like
You just know.
we have, it's like, honestly, I was just trying not to compare myself to anybody else, to my past, and just say like, you know what, I did what they want to. So now we're gonna see if they're gonna be able to recognize that. Maybe other people also brought their best, and that's gonna, change the scores. But my part is done. I was stress free. I was enjoying. I was having fun. And when we were just like standing on the line, and Bob called us to the middle of the stage, and he said, "And Neil, I swear, this was the craziest moment of my life. I could not like even think. I didn't have
Got
words. I was
goosebumps.
just like
Oh,
jumping up and down. Like, girl, you have no idea. Like I cry every time that I think about it because I knew how much I want the title, and I knew how much I could do with the title. And I'm like,
oh.
Oh my
this is
God.
the representation of all my love for the
Oh my God,
sport, all my passion. And I promised them. I even said in my speech, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm gonna honor this title. I'm gonna honor this title like nobody else has ever done because I don't think, and I'm gonna say that in a humble way, but I don't think anybody in these sports, in this industry, has so much love, so much passion for what they
Yeah.
do. as I do, like, I am very, very inspired by other women, by even like Linda Murray and all the
Oh,
legends of this sport.
100%.
Same.
They they led the path. They show me, like, I learned from each one of them. You know, I am always talking to the old school bodybuilders that I admire so much, and I try to learn as much. I'm like a sponge. I want to absorb as much information and knowledge that I have, that I can,
Mm.
and to be able to pass it on. I don't want to just hold that for me.
You want to
I
share
want,
that?
because I, yes, because listen, one day, this generation, I am 26 years old. I mean, 27, just turned 27. One day, we are going to be the next generation. We need to educate the next ones so the
We
sport
do.
can continue to grow.
Yeah,
And that
That's
comes down to,
absolutely.
oh my goodness, that is, Natalia, that is comes down to purpose, to think that, you know, I don't know many 27-year-olds. And like I said, Rose and I are like 14 years older than you. And I don't know women and people in their 40s that have the maturity and the wisdom that you have just as a person, let alone in this sport. And this is why people want to help you. This is why the right people are surrounding you, is because your intention behind what you do is pure, and it is for the greater good, without saying it as a cliche. And the way that you're using yourself as a vehicle for that, you know, being backed by your faith, being backed by your values, being backed by everything, and you using this as the vehicle. And any successful athlete that we've spoken to, whether it be in bodybuilding or in other avenues, even in business, this, what you're saying right now, is where it starts. That is the foundation, Natalia.
Yes, and here's the thing. It's like I was saying, you know, like, I just want everybody to know the value of our sport. You know, I don't want people to just go on stage. It's nice when you go on stage to show that you lost weight, that you accomplished your goal. That is amazing. Kudos to you. I am happy. I applaud all of you who do that. But I want you to also know the winners. I want you to know the manuals. I want you to know the NPC and the IFBB history. I want you to understand and value everything that these guys done for us to be able to stand on any stage, you know, because there's so much history, there's so much memory, so much meaning when you know what you're doing up there. You know, like every time that I get to the Olympia and I just stare at the stage, I just stop there and I'm like,
That's
I
history.
remember everything. It's
Yeah.
history, exactly.
It is.
And just by looking at like Steve, Sandy, all the judges sitting down there, I'm like, I know what they've been through. I know they were competitors. Steve worked backstage. He was an expediter. He was an athlete. He went through everything. Now he's a judge. So it's not because you're not competing that you cannot be involved in the sport. Look at Steve.
Yeah.
He's done everything. So can we. If you're not competing anymore, you can still promote the business. You can still promote the industry. You
Yeah.
can still be involved and work in it, you know.
And let the legacy carry on.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing, you know. And I just want, because I know there are so many people out there that love the sport, like you girls do. And imagine if we can get together and just make this passion, whatever we have put together, so much energy together that nobody can hold us
Raises the
back.
vibration. It really does.
It does. And I think, you know, like what you're saying about celebrating the history of the sport, it's the legacy of the sport, and you know, I'm much like you, that it's the early women in the sport that just they paved the way for us. You know, they fought for the right for us to be on that stage, and that was all an evolution too, and there's a big story behind that. And so, you know, getting the history out there is so important to, and people then go, oh my God, this is actually a sport with this rich, beautiful history that's all about empowering people, all
And
about making people
built
into
on,
the best version of themselves that they can be.
exactly. And it's built
Yes,
on passion. It's built on passion. The
Passion.
foundation
Yeah.
of it. It's not built on, you know, like starting up a business and go, right, we're going to make, you know, yes, this, but it's there to be profitable. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, you know, there is the business component to it, but the foundation of, you know, what the Manions have done and the Widlers and everything has been built on passion.
Yeah.
It is, and it's amazing. Like every time that I'm talking to Jimena, I learn something. I was competing in the Pittsburgh Pro this past weekend, and I had the chance to talk to him for a few minutes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he has so much in him. If people just ask him, he will tell you, he'll talk to you. And we need to know what was going on back then. We need to like just bring this back. And just like people are like, why are you doing the Pittsburgh Pro? I'm like, do you understand what is the Pittsburgh Pro? Do you understand who's promoting the show? Do you understand how important it is for me, for myself, to have a title, to be here showing support to whoever gave me the opportunity to be an
Yeah,
athlete,
it's like an
and
honor.
just like
You're honoring.
it is exactly. And I'm like, it's the same thing with Jake Wood. Oh my gosh, guys, if you don't know who Jake Wood is,
We
it's
do.
okay, but look him
Yeah.
up. I'm not talking about you. Of course you do. I'm like, whoever is watching, because in Brazil, we have like a muscle contest show. By the way, Tamara and Tarek are doing an amazing job bringing all the shows to Brazil.
Yeah.
Just like you guys don't have a show yet in Australia, the Muscle Contest International was able to bring shows to Brazil, so the girls now can compete there.
Yes.
And people there are not very familiar with Jake Wood or whoever. I'm like, you have to look him up. This guy has so much passion, so much love for this sport. Look what he's doing. He brought women's bodybuilding back. This
Yeah.
is amazing.
I
That's how we just
know.
started. Nation.
It's
You know, I'm like,
yeah, crazy.
they need to be recognized, and when I say these things, I'm not here like trying to promote them, promote this. I'm just here trying to share how much people love what they're doing, and that we are a community. We work
Yeah.
here together. We are all trying to grow the same sports, the same industry. I understand that when we are on stage, it's like a battle,
Oh, yeah.
me
Yeah.
versus, and that's fine. That is exciting, to be on stage and to be this, battle, whatever. But outside the stage, we are in the same boat. We are bodybuilders, we are athletes, and we are here to make the industry go to another level. And
That's
that's what
it.
I want to do. It is.
That's what Rose and I have. We're like figure sisters. We feel like we're torn from the same cloth, if you know what I mean. And we've competed together as amateurs before, and and no doubt one day we're going to head up on stage together as athletes. And I coach Rose. I'm getting her ready for
She coaches me. She's my best friend. She coaches me.
But I said to her, look, if we ever do a show together, which we will, or if we, one day make it to the Olympia, which is on our bucket list as well, I'm like, I reckon I will scream louder if you win than, if, I was ever to place, because we have that love and respect. It's, yes, you're on there, you're showing your best, you're being competitive, but it's not at the expense of judging or berating anyone else. It's to lift each other up, because we are such a niche and such a small, community, and like-minded women. We need to come together, for that, which is what we were saying earlier to you, Natalia. This is why we started this, because we have, big dreams for Go Figure as well, to support women in this community, to give back to even the ones that are underprivileged. And we're looking at creating a foundation where we can, sponsor. We're doing a competition at the moment, a $20,000 giveaway, where we pay for one athlete to, have their whole prep paid for, all of it. Trips, accommodation, fees, bikini, hair, makeup, tanning, coaching, the whole works.
Yeah. Well, because we know how there are women out there that have got amazing physiques, but they don't have the opportunity that we might have had. So we want to give back and to be able to provide those women with a chance as well, because it is so life-changing. So we want to give this opportunity. I mean, if we could give this opportunity to 100 women, we would give it to 1,000 women if we could.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
When we were speaking to some of the promoters over in Thailand and Singapore, and these are third world countries, especially Thailand and Vietnam and what have you. And this one promoter we were speaking to at the time, James Stoke, is like, they've got pros in their countries, and they've got athletes in their countries that wanted to do the show but couldn't, because they couldn't afford the food, or they couldn't, so you know, we gave back and we sponsored to the show so that those athletes could partake and be part of it. And I don't think that anyone should miss out because they don't have the money or the finances aren't there. Like, there's enough resources in our community to be everyone to be able to come together and support, you know, the next generation, because you know what, it's the ones like even Boliana, she came over here with nothing in her back pocket, you know. It's the ones that started from nothing that have the most amount of drive, I have found, and work through the ranks. And one day, you know what, they're going to be paying your paycheck. You know, they're going to be the ones that are going to be there at the top. And so like you do, you stay humble and you give back and you help out. And, you know, and now, Natalia, you've even sponsored the up and coming Triple O Dynasty show, which I am beyond excited about. I've got a team of girls here in the country that are going to be coming over. Can you, you're going to be sponsoring like the winner of the category. You're putting up the prize money, but you're also part of it with the girls like Sid and Whitney and Andrea, who we freaking adore. Tell us how that all came about.
Oh my gosh, that is such an amazing thing that we're going to be doing, because everybody knows Sid, Drea, and Whitney, like they are Miss Olympias, you know, so they represent the pinnacle of our sports. And last year, I was able to get the title. Look, Miss Olympia. So
good.
And that's something that I said. I'm like, listen, this is gonna be with me in my heart forever. Nobody can take that away. And I want to honor it. I want to do whatever I can to bring this to the next level. To anyhow. So now being a Miss Olympia as well, we got together and we're like, let's do something that has never been done in the history of the sport. And that's going to be the first step of many others that we want to do. And just like I told you before, there are so many things that we can do together with passionate people, with people with energy. I'm like, guys, you don't understand. I am young, I am healthy, I have passion. I want to put all my energy into this. You know, I am 100% all about the sport, all about helping each other. And I don't say that just to, you know, like sound, I don't know, like cliche, but it is true. I say that from my heart. You know, I love this sport. So we had Sid talked to me about the show, the idea that she was having. And then I'm like, you don't even have to say anything any further. Let's do it, you know, let's go.
I'm in. Yep.
I'm in, of course, everything for the sports. And I know at the Arnold, they took down our categories. So there was another thing. I'm like, there are so many girls out there. They want to compete. They want to be able to showcase their physiques, their passion, their, you know, accomplishments, everything on stage, but they don't have the platform. What if we can provide that to them? What if we can change that? So that's what we're doing. Next year is going to be the first year of many more to come. It's only going to get better and bigger. And I know with the right people together, we are going to make like crazy.
History.
Yeah,
history.
No,
I'm going to be part of history.
Yeah.
You know, when we were speaking to Andrea and Whitney as well, they're like, this is going to be, it's not like just a show. It's going to be like an extravaganza. You know, it can be like a worldwide festival. There are so many different parts and components to this show as well, and what it represents. And, you know, it was so interesting when I saw that this came out last year, didn't I? I sent it through to you, Rose, straight away. I was like, oh, I mean, that's me. And I used the F word. I said, I'm freaking in. That's me. I'm done. Sign me up. And I remember just plastering it up there. And then as it's evolved, and we spoke to Andrea 2 weeks ago, and she dropped the date before she was supposed to drop the date, which we didn't post. But it's at the Mesa, I think it's at the Mesa Convention Center in Arizona on the 6th of April. And I went to ask her, I said, is it just going to be pros, or is it there's a, you know, a NPC section to it? And this was what I was excited about, because I'm like, oh my God, Holy Mary, Mother and Joseph, like, let's do this. Let's bring a team over from Australia as well, where we can all kind of come together and be part of this sport, because it literally is going to be for everyone. And it's run by women, which I'm incredibly excited about. I'm not a feminist. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Look, I'm all for women empowerment.
Kind of are. Sometimes we're not. But yeah.
I'm all for women empowerment and being bold and courageous, and which is exactly what you girls have done and what you're representing, and the intention behind it is great. So do you want to just share with everyone, because a lot of people think it's just the pro figure, physique and bodybuilding. I don't know if anyone knew that there was the amateur part of the show as well.
Yeah, so we have all the categories for the NPC, so it doesn't matter if you're not a pro yet. You can either come to the show to watch, to support, to be inspired, or you can also compete as an amateur. And that is amazing because look at that, you're going to be on stage and everybody who is in the show, in the organization of the show, is Olympia, a Miss Olympia, so you're going to be able to talk to us, you're going to be able to learn from us. I even want to see if we can do maybe like a seminar, Q&A or something to engage with the audience, to the people, and to just like answer questions, take pictures, because can you even like imagine back in the days having like a show where Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, whoever would come and talk to you or put a show together? That would be crazy,
Wouldn't it?
So now we are having the opportunity to do that. Maybe they didn't have back then. And that's okay. I mean, they've done so much for the sports. They still do.
Yeah.
But having the opportunity, like fans are gonna be able to do so much, to learn so much. And that is the whole purpose, to give them an experience that they never experienced before. Something that they're gonna remember forever. Just not just like competing, but actually having the memories there, having the connections, making friends, what you can take from a show. And like you said, woman empowerment. This is so big, at least to me.
To me, yeah, too. Yeah.
We've built a whole podcast around it because we're so passionate about it. We want to see women, both inside and outside of the sport, just, rise to a different level and to just be successful and to be involved in a sport that's going to change their whole life inside and out.
Women in numbers, like we are the creators, we give birth, we essentially, if we're talking about metaphor, and what we do, we build humans, right? So I own a human as well.
Every person on this earth has come to this earth from a woman. Every person.
We deserve respect and recognition as well. And that's the whole goal, it's not about being feminist or whatever. It's just about, supporting each other. That's the whole message and purpose. Because honestly, there's nothing more beautiful than seeing one woman cheer for another one. It is so beautiful.
Totally.
It lights my day, for real. Like when I see, even like backstage, when I see like girls that I like, that I know that are competing, I'm backstage like, go girl, go girl. They're like, she's competing against you. I'm like, shut up, she's having fun. She's looking amazing. Go, right now, whoever's watching this podcast, if you have a friend or somebody that is on Instagram, Facebook, and post a picture and she looks beautiful, tell her, say, you look amazing, look beautiful, do it, That's gonna change, if you can put a smile on somebody's day, even if it's just one person, one word can change her whole day. Do it.
You actually changed my day very early on when I started following you, because I actually commented on one of your posts and you wrote back and said, oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. And I was like, oh my God.
Commented on my post.
I screenshotted it and sent it to like 5 of my friends, just going, oh my God, she responded to my comment. Because as a fan, having that feedback from someone you look up to so much, and I compete as well, but I'm also a fan of the sport. And so having that was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I love that idea that you want to provide like the fans, with more access to the athletes as well. I think that's a great idea. And I think it's going to,
right? Because we need the fans, without the fans, who are we? Who are the athletes? How can we grow without them? So all of them are important, like we need that. The same way that we need the judges, the athletes, the promoters, everybody, we need the fans.
Yes.
We need the audience to be there cheering for us. Isn't it amazing when you step on stage and you see all these crazy fans like shouting for you And, you know, like it's an energy thing, you know. So when I see the comments and I try to reply to everybody that I can, and I really do, I don't just like
Yeah.
click like or whatever. I know who you are. I remember this message that you're saying. I click on you. I remember that, you know. So it means
Yeah.
a lot to me. Even though you say it means a lot to you, it means a lot to me too, because you're there showing love to me, to my picture, to my post, whatever. I want to show love back. That's the way I am. That's my stance, you know. That's how I was raised.
You're just
Somebody treats you
amazing.
well, you treat them well back.
You know, and this is why you're such a pinnacle in the sport. And, you know, I don't even think people understand that you're only just getting started. Like you
Oh
are
God,
even
you've got
like everyone's like, oh, she's at the peak. I'm like, mate, this girl, she hasn't even gotten started. She's just warming her hands up.
she's in
And
her 20s. I mean, for God's sakes, there's wow. Talk about longevity of the sport. You will change the face of the sport. Absolutely. I
already
have
has.
no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I truly believe that you've definitely changed. You've already changed the landscape of the sport and brought so many women together, and you've stayed humble, never forgot where you've come from in this whole process, and your why, your purpose and intention is on mark. And it doesn't matter who you are in the world, you can see that in you. And, you know, it's the ones that come from this space that I find, in my experience, being around, you know, the bodybuilding world for 25 years, has longevity in the sport as well, you know, because they respect the essence of it, they respect the values of it and the history of it, and as well, are not just there to take, but are there to contribute. So you can see that, you know, because I was asking Rose the other day, and I was like, oh, Natalia's competing at the Pittsburgh Pro. Why is she doing that when she's already O qualified? And now speaking to you, I understand it was you wanted to honor the legacy of that show and what it represents and what it stands for. Even though you're still Miss Olympia, it doesn't, like, the Miss Olympia is not the mission. It is part of the mission.
Yes. And here's the thing I will tell you. Last year was the first year in history that Jim Mannion added the Women's Physique Pro category to his show. So up until 2022, we didn't have Women's Physique Pros, only amateurs. So I'm like, listen, Jim Mannion is adding our division to his show. So there's no way I cannot be part of it. You know, it means so much. So last year I was there and I got this first title, and I'm like, this is so beautiful. Like I am able to say that I was the first one. But I want to come back. I want to defend. I want to be there. I want to be part of it. I want to support. I want to make it grow. You know, it's just something in me. And here's the thing, there are many things involved when you think about shows. Um, as I told you, I want to show, I want to change a lot of things that people have, a lot of conceptions that people have in mind, right? So up to now, people think, oh, you're Miss Olympia, you just do one show. At the end of the year, that's it. As you said, it is not just the Olympic, it is part of it. You know, the Olympia is my goal. Of course, I want to get to the Olympia, but it's part of my job, my title to honor my division, to do what I can to help to grow. And I will do it, you know. And to me, honestly, it is very important to do a show now because I know my body, I know how it responds. It's a strategy as well. So when you're doing like off season for too long and you break the off season, you do a little cutting, your body responds better. I know how my gut health works, my microbiome, everything. So it goes much deeper than just, you know, like prep for a show, do this, do that. I look into the things from the inside out. As you know, I am very, very into gut health. And when you take care of your gut and you make sure your digestion is good, everything is good within the absorption of nutrients, you're not just forcing food down and whatever you have to do sometimes, the results come. You know, this prep, I didn't do cardio. And people are like, how come? I'm like, because I stay lean. But of course, I increased my body fats a little bit. I made sure I was getting all the nutrients I needed. My hormones were in check. I was doing my blood work. Everything was good. But if you're able to stay lean, stay eating clean, eating healthy stuff, sometimes you don't need to stress yourself so much, do so much cardio, do this and that. It's just about, you know, priorities. Of course,
I
it's
love
not
that.
easy to be clean all year round, but when you have a goal, and when your goal is, when you crave your goal more than you crave food, you're gonna do whatever it takes. That's it.
And
Oh, I
and
love that.
you look
Yeah.
at Natalia, and I'm like, bang! I almost like want to go. Like that was the clinch of it there, is that, you know, if your guts are messed, everything's messed, but you look at your health holistically. You look at your mental health, emotional, nutritional, hormonal, physical. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So you can be eating the diet plan the coach gives you and doing all the training program, but your lifestyle outside of that is poor and you're negating other areas. So, you know, what you've just said is incredible. And I don't believe you need to go crazy in your off season. And anyone that I've spoken to, even in a growth phase, from coaches to promoters to Olympians, have all said, you don't need to get fat to get lean. You know, there's a difference. And take your time and build yourself up. And I can tell now, you know, you're getting, you know, ready for your next show. And I think, are you doing the New York Pro this weekend?
Guess what? Yes, I'll be doing the New York Pro.
I knew it.
Exclusive on Go Figure. Let's hear it.
Natalia, yes. I knew it. You've been getting drier by the minute while I've been watching.
Yes, I've been watching you too. I'm like, you're getting drier. What is going on? Like,
no, honestly, the New York Pro, the Night of a Champion, which was the name of the show before Steve took over. There's a lot of history in the show. I've been watching literally every year, even though I was not even like born before, you know, but I went back and I watched or I learned or listened to other people talk about it. And I just, oh my gosh, I'm amazed by this show. I see all the big champions that came from out of the show. And I know that this show last year was 2 weeks apart with the Pittsburgh Pro. This year is only 6 days later. I'm in shape. I prep for the Pittsburgh Pro. And we all know that prepping is not easy. You go through a lot. And why would I not take the opportunity of doing another show 6 days later, representing, showing love, showing support, doing what I love, and being on that stage, to me, as I said, means way more than just being there, you know?
Wow.
Well, so I will be there. I am very happy to be coming back to New York because I was born in New York. I have
it's home. It's home
yeah,
turf. Yes.
It's very special.
I worked in New York in it was 2002, and I lived down 42nd Street, right in the hub in the city. And I used to do a lot of marketing for sports clubs and the Super Bowl over there back in the day after uni. And I loved New York, you know, like even the size of Grand Central Park. Like, Rose, just to give you an idea, the size of the Melbourne CBD would fit inside the actual, Grand Central Park. And then, you know, you go to the top of the Rockefeller Center and there are skyscrapers as far as you can see. Like you can't see anything. It's an incredible city, and the people are incredible as well. And like you walk down the street and everyone calls you ma'am, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Like it's a completely different culture. So I definitely one day want to return and to New York and do the New York Pro, but I'm so stoked that you're doing it and I can't wait to see what you bring this weekend.
I was going to say you have to do this show because the experience that I had last year was my first year in the New York Pro. Was an amazing experience. I was treated super well. I loved every single minute of the show and I had so much fun. Backstage, the girls were so nice and we had a blast. And my mom was so happy that I went to New York because I was born there. And when my mom moved to New York, she was 22, I think, years old. She went there by herself to work, to make a life. And then she's like, oh my gosh, we're going to go to New York. I want to show you where I work, where I lived, where you were born. So she was just excited. And I was just looking at her like, it means so much to her, you know? So when I was on stage competing, she's like, Natalia, I had a feeling, a very special feeling to see you competing here because I know the heat, like, there's so much in New York that represent the change of my life when I came from Brazil and all this stuff. So we never know why someone's competing. We never know the history of someone. All we can do is to respect, to understand. And when we have good intentions, it should be admired, you know? So I know some people say, oh, you're competing too much or whatever. No. So I'm only doing these 2 shows. And then after here, I'm going to focus at the Olympia. But remember, I'm an athlete. What do athletes do? They compete.
We compete, yeah, absolutely. I completely understand the I think you're right. If you're keeping yourself lean and you're not having to go to, you know, really extreme levels to get yourself ready for a show, gosh, compete as many times as you can. Why wouldn't you?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I do that because I love. I am enjoying
Yes.
the process. I make memories. And I am young now. I'm healthy now. So that's the time to compete. I'm not gonna wait until I'm like much older and something happens to say, oh, I should have competed. No, I am taking the opportunities. I am doing what makes my heart happy because life is too short. I tell that to everybody. Is there anything that you're thinking about doing? Don't just think, do it. You know, one day you're gonna look back and say, "Oh my gosh, I was crazy," or "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I did it." You know,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna regret. At least you took
No
the opportunity.
regrets.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing: you were saying, "I'm gonna be maybe one day we're gonna be at the Olympia." No, I want you to change this right now.
Okay.
We will be there.
We will
Backstage.
be there. It's
Yeah,
non-negotiable. We will
there we
make
go.
it. We'll claim it.
Yeah.
That right now we're going to make it to the Olympia.
You
Yeah.
will.
100%.
And that's how it starts. And one day you're gonna look back at this conversation and you're gonna be like, wow, I was just saying it, but here I am at the
I
Olympia,
know.
you know.
We won't say
So
it. We don't say things lightly. You know,
yes, you're dream big.
we one thing that is really true to Rose and I is don't just talk the talk, walk it. So whenever we claim something or when we say something, we always back it up. We always keep our promise. And it's not ego, it's just our intention and being raw and open and straight down the line with everything that we do, which is one thing that we admire in you. You can still be this incredible competitive athlete, but you're still very humble because of the roots and the intention. And that is exactly what we wanted to highlight having you on here today too, Natalia. And, you know, we are so grateful to have had you on, and we know that you've got a meeting on as well. So I'm watching the time as well, so you can get ready for that. But, you know, we would love to get you back on as well after the Olympia, even in the interim, and anything that we can do to help you out, to help your, you know, crusade of, you know, bringing people together and helping this legacy live on. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time. Like, we are so honored and grateful, and just having you on here today has changed both of our lives.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I make your words my words. If you guys have anything that I can do to help, you know, you can count on me. And there's actually one thing that I want to ask you, and this thing is to continue doing what you're doing with this podcast. I know doing podcasts is not easy. I know sometimes we don't get as much views or likes or whatever that we want, but you will. Just continue doing that because this is very important. There are a lot of girls that are going to be watching our podcast and learning from you guys. We can tell, like, just by watching. I watch the other episodes and I'm like, I can see the intention, the energy, and the strength that you put into this podcast. You know, you love what you do.
We do.
You know, it's
You
something that we
really made me cry about 4 times through this podcast because, oh gosh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalia. It means so much. We'll have a chat with you before we go, but everyone else, like, it's Magic Monday out here in Victoria and in Australia and overseas. So this episode's going to be dropping in the next 8 hours. If you have any questions for us, for Natalia, please don't hesitate to send them through to us. We would be more than happy to communicate them with Natalia as well. She will definitely be coming back on, and wish you all the best, Natalia, for this week's New York Pro as well. Thank you again for coming on.